JR Global presents Leadership Under the Microscope. In this program, we will discuss current topics about staying relevant in an interconnected world. Through observation and conversations, we invite you to think with us and participate in a civil dialogue. Here is your host, J.R. Klein.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm eager to think with you about how the world works. In this episode, we look at how thinking can impact the way leaders and individuals relate to one another. We observe how ideas and attitudes can polarize or synthesize, and the value of finding common ground. This episode is about advocating for civil discourse. It has been 40 years since my father died. He was a small man, taking after his mother, but what he lacked in stature he made up for in an extraordinary amount of homespun wisdom. Unfortunately, it, for the most part, was wasted on me during the time it would have been most beneficial. Like many of his generation, his formal education was short-lived, with most of what he knew resulting from paying attention to life. His higher education came from North Africa and Italy during the Second World War and years spent focusing on responsibility to his family and community. Now that I am at the age where remembering things my father told me seems to be easier than recalling the code for the garage door opener, the effect of my father's little pearls has become clear. My dad's solutions, which were not taught but nonetheless caught, were quite simple. First, do what works. If it doesn't work, do something else. Secondly, none of us is better than any of us. What you say is who you are, so remember who you are. Finally, always do your best. Maybe it's the age thing, but it seems to me in a world that has become increasingly polarized by ideologies that this basic common sense has been misplaced. What if we did what works rather than doing nothing because we can't agree on what works? The willingness to be flexible has been compromised by the gods of ideology. It's good to have a sense of who you are and where you've come from. A tradition of thinking that ties us to who we have been and defines who we have become is a good thing. However, blind trust is just that, blind. Tradition is faithfulness to the living ideas of the dead. Traditionalism is faithfulness to the dead ideas of the living. Tradition says, how can we change and remain faithful to who we are? Traditionalism says, how can we stay the same at all cost? The first is inclusive and the second is exclusive. It is many times characterized by subtleties, such as the ideologies behind the statement, you're either for us or you're against us, rather than, if you're not for us, you're against us. The first statement sets up a 100% solution that if you don't think and act as we do, there's no other choice than to be outside. The second statement exposes the crack of flexibility and becomes the starting point of compromise rather than the end point. The 100% solution is usually not the solution because it alienates rather than integrates. Observation indicates that the world has become more one-dimensional. People are categorized by one-issue definitions. You can be conservative or liberal, business or labor, pro-security or pro-privacy, tax or anti-tax, big government or small government, but being a liberal business person that favors the idea of social equity is outside of many professed ideologies. The result of the 1% solution is the fanaticism of polarization. Whether in government, religion, or personal affairs, ideas have become more divergent, less tolerant, and more offensive in dealing with different options. The widely accepted idea that the purpose of confrontation is to discover common ground, which leads to relational compromise, has fallen into disfavor. The 100% solution has always had an effect on all levels of culture. Human history is full of the pendulum of tolerance and intolerance, and this time is no different. It is time to re-examine some of the basic relational values that are central to all cultures and are our common ground. It is the place and time to begin a civil discourse. Unity should be the goal and not necessarily uniformity. My father would say, sit down and think about it for a minute. None of us is better than any of us. Remember who you are and just do your best.
Thank you for listening. If you are a leader or are just looking for solutions, JR Global Associates can help you strategize, analyze, implement, and evaluate to achieve positive results. Simply contact us by visiting jrglobal.co and get a head start on success.